Have you ever seen a leader whose heart was bigger than his throne? A man who could have walked past the forgotten, but instead chose to kneel beside them? In this story, you will witness something rare. A friendship tested by time, torn apart by fate, and reborn on the dusty streets of Ouagadougou. It is the story of a president and a beggar, but not just any president. Ibrahim Traoré, a soldier of the people. And not just any beggar, a man who once held his hand as a brother. Who was he? Why had he fallen so low? And why did Ibrahim stop when he could have simply driven away? Stay with me, because what happens next will show you that true power is not about armies or wealth, but about loyalty, friendship, and the courage to lift someone up when the world has pushed them down. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe, because stories like this you will not hear anywhere else. It was a scorching afternoon in Ouagadougou, the capital of Burkina Faso. The air shimmered with heat, dust rose from the streets, clinging to every face, every wall. President Ibrahim Traoré had just completed a surprise visit to a local school. He had spoken to children, smiled at teachers, and promised resources to a place long forgotten by the system. As he stepped back into the bright sunlight, his convoy stood ready. Black SUVs humming softly, soldiers alert but relaxed. Ibrahim wiped a bead of sweat from his brow, adjusted his simple khaki uniform, the same one he always wore. He was not a man of luxury, not one for gold embroidery or polished shoes. No, his strength came from his humility, his closeness to the people. "Mr. President, shall we leave?" one of his aides asked. Ibrahim nodded slightly, but just as he lifted his foot toward the car, something caught his eye. Faded with age, scarred by time, sat a man. His clothes were torn, faded blue fabric hanging loose on his thin frame. His hair was unkempt, strands long, some curling slightly, streaked with white like the dust of forgotten years. His beard was uneven, wild, carrying the mark of a man who no longer had mirrors in his life. Before him lay a tin cup, almost empty. People walked by. Some glanced, some didn't. To most, he was invisible, just another beggar on another hot day. But Ibrahim stopped. His eyes narrowed. There was something familiar. The man's shoulders, the shape of his face, even the way he sat, slumped but still somehow proud. Ibrahim's heart thudded. Could it be? "Wait here," Ibrahim said firmly to his security. His voice, low but commanding, left no room for argument. The beggar lifted his head slowly. The harsh sunlight forced his eyes into a squint. When his gaze met Ibrahim's, his lips parted, his breath caught, and then a whisper, cracked and broken. "Ibrahim!" The sound froze the president in his tracks. He stepped closer. The man's voice trembled again. It's really you." Ibrahim's chest tightened. His breath came heavy. "Suleiman?" he whispered back. The beggar's eyes glistened. He tried to rise, knees trembling under the weight of years of hunger and humiliation. But before he could collapse, Ibrahim was already there, gripping his shoulder with both hands. "My God, Suleiman," Ibrahim said, his voice thick. "I thought I'd lost you forever." Suleiman shook his head weakly, tears threatening to spill. "I never thought you'd see me. Not like this." The crowd had started to gather. Whispers spread like wildfire. "The president knows this beggar." He called him by name, but Ibrahim didn't care. This was not the time for appearances. This was not about power or pride. This was about a friend, a brother left behind. He crouched beside Suleiman, his hand still firm on his shoulder. "What happened to you, my friend?" Ibrahim asked softly. Suleiman lowered his eyes, shame etched in every line of his face. "It's a long story, not one I ever wanted to tell you. Not like this." Ibrahim's grip tightened. His tone was steady, but carried the weight of command. "You are my brother. Your story is mine now, and you will not sit on this street another moment." Suleiman shook his head, whispering, "I can't. Look at me. My clothes are torn, my feet bare. I can't step into your car." I am not fit to sit beside you. But Ibrahim's eyes burned with conviction. You are my friend. That is what matters. Nothing else. For the first time in years, Suleiman felt someone see him. Not the dirt, not the rags, not the hunger, but him. The boy who once laughed with Ibrahim in classrooms. The young man who once dreamed of a future. Minutes later, to the shock of his convoy, President Ibrahim Traoré himself guided Suleiman into the car. The city watched, some with confusion, others with awe, but all with a question. Who was this man to be lifted by the hand of a president? As the car door closed, the street returned to its rhythm. But whispers lingered. That afternoon in Ouagadougou, something extraordinary had begun. The car moved slowly through the streets of Ouagadougou. Outside, the city roared with its usual noise. Vendors shouting, children chasing tires, motorcycles weaving between cars. But inside the president's SUV, there was silence. Heavy silence. Ibrahim sat close to Suleiman, his hand still resting gently on his shoulder. Every few seconds, he would glance at him, at the torn shirt, the tired eyes, and the beard that spoke of years of struggle. This was not the Suleiman he remembered. Finally, Ibrahim broke the silence. Suleiman, what happened to you, my brother? How did life bring you here? Suleiman's lips trembled, but he didn't answer immediately. Instead, he turned his gaze to the window. The passing buildings blurred in his vision. Do you remember, Ibrahim, when we were boys? He whispered. Do you remember the dusty football field behind the old school? Ibrahim's eyes softened. Yes, he said quietly. How could I forget? You were always the fastest. Nobody could catch you. A faint smile tugged at Suleiman's lips. For a moment, his face lit up, and Ibrahim could almost see the boy he once knew. The boy with quick feet, with endless laughter, with dreams too big for the small streets of their neighborhood. It was more than 20 years ago. The sun blazed just as fiercely then, but the boys didn't care. The field was nothing but dry earth, with patches of grass scattered like forgotten memories. But for Ibrahim and Suleiman, it was a stadium. They kicked a worn-out ball, patched and sewn too many times, yet still carrying their dreams. Suleiman darted forward, sand rising behind him, his bare feet swift and light. Ibrahim, try to stop me, he shouted, laughing as he weaved past the others. Ibrahim ran hard, determination written across his young face. But no matter how he tried, Suleiman slipped past, scoring goal after goal. After the game, the two boys sat under a tree, sharing a single bottle of water. Their faces glistened with sweat, but their eyes burned with hope. One day, Suleiman said, staring at the sky, I'll play for the national team. I'll show the world what Burkina Faso boys can do. And me, Ibrahim said, smiling shyly, I'll fight for our people, not with football, but maybe with something else. I don't know yet, but I'll stand for them. Suleiman chuckled, nudging him with his elbow. You? Always serious. You'll probably end up a soldier. Both boys burst into laughter. But beneath that laughter, there was truth. Years passed. The boys grew. From football fields to school benches, they were inseparable. They studied under dim light, sometimes with only a candle to guide them. When one had no notebook, the other tore his in half. When one had no food, the other shared his single piece of bread. They were not just friends. They were brothers. But life, as it always does, had its own plans. Back in the present, the car jolted over a bump, pulling Suleiman out of his memory. His eyes were wet, though he quickly tried to hide it. Ibrahim leaned closer. You were my brother, Suleiman. You are my brother. How did the boy who outran everyone end up sitting on the street? Suleiman exhaled slowly, his voice heavy with sorrow. Because, Ibrahim, not every race is won with speed. Some battles are fought with chances. And I lost mine. Ibrahim frowned. What do you mean? But Suleiman only shook his head. Not now. You deserve the full story. But first, let me remind you how it all began. Because maybe then, you'll understand. And so the story takes us back, Back to the days when two boys dreamed under the same sky, not knowing how differently fate would treat them. One would rise to power, the other would sink into silence. But why? Why would destiny split them apart? You'll soon find out. Suleiman's voice carried Ibrahim deeper into the past. He spoke of school mornings, when they both walked barefoot, carrying torn satchels. He spoke of teachers who told them they'd never make it. Boys like them should stick to farming. But still they dreamed. Still they believed. Do you remember the day the French officer visited our school? Suleiman asked.
Ibrahim nodded slowly.
Yes, he came in a big car with his polished boots. He asked the class what we wanted to become. Suleiman gave a broken laugh. And everyone said doctor, engineer, businessman. But me, I stood up and said I wanted to be a footballer. The class laughed at me. The officer said I was dreaming too small. But you, Ibrahim, you clapped for me. Ibrahim's lips curved into a faint smile. Yes, because I believed in you. I still do. Suleiman's smile faded. His voice turned quiet. Belief is powerful, but sometimes it is not enough. The weight of his words pressed into Ibrahim's chest. He wanted to ask, wanted to know everything. But Suleiman's eyes had gone far away, lost in memories too painful to spill all at once. The convoy finally pulled into the presidential residence. The guards rushed forward, surprised to see the president himself helping a ragged man out of the car. But Ibrahim ignored their stares. He placed his arm firmly around Suleiman. Come, he said, you will eat with me tonight, and tomorrow you will tell me everything. Suleiman hesitated. His heart pounded. His throat tightened. Could he really sit at the same table as the president of Burkina Faso? But the warmth in Ibrahim's eyes gave him courage. And so, the two brothers, one in a khaki uniform, the other in torn blue rags, walked side by side into the halls of power. Behind them, the city buzzed with questions. But inside, a storm of memories and untold truths was only just beginning to rise. That night, inside the quiet dining hall of the presidential residence, the two old friends sat facing each other. A golden lamp flickered softly, throwing shadows across the table. The guards outside kept their distance, but even they knew something unusual was happening. For a long while, Suleiman stared at the plate of food before him. He had not eaten at a table in years. His hands trembled as he picked up a spoon. Ibrahim watched, his heart aching, but he remained silent. Finally, Suleiman broke the silence. Brother, you asked what happened to me. Tonight, I will tell you. His voice was low, almost broken. When school ended, I chased my dream, football. For 2 years, I trained harder than anyone else. I played under the burning sun, on dusty grounds, with nothing but hope. People began to notice me. Scouts from the city said I had talent. His eyes darkened. But then, money spoke louder than talent. Another boy's family bribed the officials. He was chosen. I was forgotten. Suleiman clenched his fists. That was the first door that closed. But I told myself it is only one door. Life is full of doors. So he turned to work. He found a small job in the city, carrying goods in a warehouse. It was hard, but he believed it was the beginning of something better. For a time, he earned enough to send a little money home. But, Suleiman continued, his voice shaking, the manager stole from the company. When the police came, he blamed me. I was young, powerless, and so they fired me without listening. Ibrahim's jaw tightened. The system, so often brutal to the poor, had crushed another dream. Suleiman lowered his eyes. After that, things fell apart quickly. I tried many jobs. Some paid too little, some lasted too short. And then, I made the worst mistake of my life. I trusted the wrong people. He spoke of so-called friends who lured him into small gambling games. At first, it was just a distraction, a way to escape the pain of failure. But soon, it consumed him. He lost what little money he had. Debts followed. And debts, in the wrong hands, can destroy a man. His voice grew heavy. One night, I came home, and they were waiting. Men with hard faces. They said I had 3 days to pay, or else. Ibrahim leaned forward. What did you do? Suleiman gave a hollow laugh. What could I do? I sold everything. My clothes, my bed, even my mother's jewelry. But still, it was not enough. So I ran. I hid in the alleys of the city, where no one would look for me. His hand trembled as he lifted the spoon again. I thought it would be for a few days, but days turned to weeks, weeks to months, and then years. Silence hung in the hall. Ibrahim felt a knot tighten in his chest. The boy who once outran everyone had been outrun by fate itself. Suleiman's eyes filled with tears. I begged, Ibrahim. I begged to eat. I begged to live. Do you know the shame of stretching your hand to strangers when once you dreamed of greatness? Do you know what it feels like to see children point at you, laughing, calling you the madman of the street? His voice cracked. For years, I lived with that name. Ibrahim's fists clenched on the table. He wanted to shout, to rage against the injustice. But instead, he reached across, gripping Suleiman's hand firmly. You are not that man anymore, he said. Not while I live. But Suleiman shook his head. No, Ibrahim, you don't understand. Fate is not finished with me. There is still more you don't know. There is something darker, something that broke me completely. The reason I could never go back home. The reason I chose the streets instead of facing my family. Ibrahim's eyes narrowed. What do you mean? Suleiman swallowed hard. You will know. Tomorrow if you still want to hear. But tonight, let me just be your brother again. Let me eat and remember the days when life was simple. Because what comes next may be too heavy even for you to carry. The room fell into silence once more. Only the clinking of cutlery echoed faintly, mixing with the weight of unspoken truths. And in Ibrahim's heart, one question burned like fire. What pain could be so great that even Suleiman feared to speak it? The next morning, sunlight spilled gently across the presidential residence. Birds chirped in the gardens, guards walked their routine rounds, and inside one quiet guest room, Suleiman opened his eyes to the softness of a clean bed. For a moment, he thought it was a dream. The sheets, the scent of warm bread drifting through the air, the silence. All of it felt unreal. He rubbed his eyes and whispered, Ya Allah, am I truly here? A knock on the door broke his thoughts. A servant entered, smiling respectfully. Breakfast is served, sir. The president is waiting, sir. The word felt strange on his ears. For years, he had only been called beggar, madman, and useless. Now suddenly respect. In the dining hall, Ibrahim sat in a plain white shirt, sipping tea. His face lit up when he saw his old friend. Good morning, Suleiman, he said warmly. Come, eat with me. They ate in silence at first. Eggs, bread, and fresh fruit. Each bite seemed like a miracle. Then Ibrahim leaned forward. Yesterday, you told me part of your story, but you also said there was something you couldn't speak of. I'm asking you now, brother. Tell me everything. Whatever it is, I will bear it with you. Suleiman's shoulders stiffened. His spoon froze halfway to his mouth. For a moment, he seemed to sink back into shadows. Then, with a deep breath, he began. 3 years ago, after I lost my job, I still had one treasure left. My mother. She was old but strong. She believed in me when no one else did. When I was young, she used to pray over me, saying, Suleiman, one day you will lift our family's name high. His voice broke. But I failed her. When the debts came, when the threats came, I could no longer hide it. She begged me to come home. She said, we will face it together. But I was ashamed. I thought if I stayed away, I could protect her. A tear slid down his cheek. I was wrong. One night they came. The men I owed. They could not find me, so they went to her. They shouted, they broke things. Her heart could not take it. She died that same night, Ibrahim. Because of me. The words hung heavy in the air. Ibrahim closed his eyes. Pain etched across his face. Brother, he whispered. Suleiman buried his face in his hands. Do you see now why I could not return? The village cursed my name. My family turned away. I had nothing left but shame. so I chose the streets. I thought, maybe punishment was all I deserved. Ibrahim stood abruptly, chair scraping against the floor. His voice trembled, not with anger, but with conviction. No, do not say that again. You did not kill your mother. The cruelty of men and the weakness of this world killed her. You were her son, her hope, and I believe she still prays for you, even now. Suleiman lifted his head slowly. His eyes were red, but inside them flickered a faint spark, as if Ibrahim's words had planted a seed. Ibrahim continued, softer now. You call it shame. I call it survival. You endured what would have destroyed most men. That is not weakness, Suleiman. That is strength. For the first time in years, Suleiman allowed himself to breathe deeply. He felt the weight inside him shift, just slightly. Later that day, Ibrahim insisted they take a walk in the garden. Guards kept their distance, pretending not to watch as the president and the beggar walked side by side, like brothers. Listen to me, Ibrahim said firmly. Your story does not end in the street. You are alive for a reason, and I will not let you waste that reason. Suleiman glanced at him, uncertain. And what reason is that? Ibrahim stopped, turning to face him directly. To rise again, to rebuild, to prove that no matter how far a man falls, he can still stand. And Suleiman, you will not stand alone. I will stand with you. Something inside Suleiman broke then, not with despair, but with release. He bowed his head, tears spilling freely, and whispered, After all these years, you still call me brother. Ibrahim gripped his shoulder firmly. I never stopped. That evening, as the sun dipped low over Ouagadougou, Suleiman sat quietly by the window of his room. He thought of his mother, of his lost years, and of the shame he carried like a chain. But for the first time, he also thought of tomorrow. A tomorrow where he might not be just the beggar on the street. A tomorrow where he could reclaim the name his mother gave him. And in his heart, for the first time in years, hope stirred. The following morning began with a rush of quiet activity in the presidential residence. Suleiman awoke to fresh clothes folded neatly on a chair. A crisp white shirt, clean trousers, and polished shoes. For a man who had worn rags for years, even touching them felt unreal. When he stepped out, Ibrahim was waiting near the car, smiling warmly. Today, Ibrahim said, you will not just eat, you will rise. The convoy rolled gently through the streets of Ouagadougou. Crowds paused to wave at the president's car, unaware that inside, beside him, sat a man who just yesterday had been ignored on the pavement. Suleiman kept his eyes low, unsure, but Ibrahim placed a hand on his shoulder. Lift your head, brother. You belong here as much as I do. Their first stop was at a clinic. Doctors examined Suleiman thoroughly, prescribing medicines and giving him the first real health check he had in years. When the barber trimmed his hair and beard, he hardly recognized the reflection staring back. The hollowed, weary beggar was gone. In his place stood a man who looked younger, stronger, and alive. He whispered under his breath, Mama, can you see me now? By afternoon, the car stopped again, this time on the edge of the city. Before them stood a modest but beautiful cream-colored house with brown shutters, surrounded by a small garden of hibiscus flowers. Suleiman froze, his lips parting in disbelief. It's yours, Ibrahim said simply. Mine, Suleiman stammered. No, this cannot be. It can, Ibrahim insisted, placing the keys in his hand. You lived on the street too long. From today you sleep here. No one can take it from you. Suleiman's knees nearly buckled. He gripped Ibrahim's arm to steady himself, tears blurring his vision. Ibrahim, why would you do this for me? Because you once gave me hope when I had none, Ibrahim said quietly. Now it is my turn. Inside, the house was warm and welcoming. A clean kitchen, a simple living room, and a soft bed that seemed like a gift from heaven. Suleiman walked through each room slowly, touching the walls, the furniture, and the curtains, as if afraid they might vanish. But Ibrahim was not finished. Come, he said. There is one more thing to show you. They drove a few blocks further until they reached a busy street corner. There, a freshly painted shop stood with a wide glass window. Inside were neatly arranged shelves of clothes and shoes, waiting for customers. A sign above the door read, Suleiman gasped, This is mine? Yes. Ibrahim nodded firmly. I have paid the rent for 1 year. You will run this business. Sell clothes, shoes, things that bring dignity. You were born not to beg, but to build. And now you will build again. Suleiman's hands trembled as he touched the glass door.
Ibrahim,
I don't know how to thank you. Don't thank me, Ibrahim said with a gentle smile. Thank God. Thank your mother, who raised you with values that even the street could not destroy. And then prove her right. Show her that her son has risen again. Weeks turned into months. The shop became a lively place. Students came to buy shoes for school. Families came for dresses and shirts. And with every sale, Suleiman's confidence grew. He treated each customer with kindness, greeting them with dignity, never forgetting what it felt like to be invisible. Soon, people in the neighborhood began to say, Look, that's Suleiman. He was once lost, but now he is an example. The beggar of yesterday had become a respected businessman. One evening, as the golden sun set behind the city, Suleiman locked the shop and walked to his new home. Ibrahim was waiting in the garden, sipping tea. How was business today? Ibrahim asked. Suleiman grinned, holding up a small notebook. We sold 10 pairs of shoes and 15 shirts. And one boy, he had no money for school shoes, so I gave him a pair for free. His smile was worth more than coins. Ibrahim chuckled, pride glowing in his eyes. That is the Suleiman I knew in school. The one who gave me books when I had none. The one who never let a friend walk alone. Suleiman's voice softened. And now, you have given me back my life. That night, as stars filled the sky, Suleiman sat quietly on the porch of his new house. His journey played through his mind. The betrayal, the hunger, the shame, the street corner where Ibrahim found him. And now a home, a business, a brother by his side. He whispered, almost in prayer, no matter how deep the darkness, one act of kindness can bring back the light. And maybe that's the lesson we all need today. You see, Suleiman's story is not just about a beggar and a president. It is about hope, about the truth that no matter how far you fall, your story is never over. One act of kindness, one true friend, can change everything. So if this story touched your heart, don't let it stop here. Share it. Let it inspire someone else who feels broken today. And if you want more stories of resilience and hope, subscribe now. Because tomorrow's light often begins with today's kindness.